Okay. So if we all just want to close our eyes just for a second here, everybody knows this usually takes only about like maybe like 10 seconds. Uh, and then when you feel ready, Dallas, like the other ones have experienced it already before. So whatever you feel, who knows what that's going to be. And as long as you want to sit with it and be with it, you be with it. And then when you're feel you're able to open your eyes and be back here is the perfect time. So there's no real time limit on it. But after about 20 minutes, we might start bugging you a little bit. But
You don't know me, Thunder Bear.
that's true. I had no
that would
idea.
be a long time for Dallas to be quiet.
Okay. Okay, then maybe I'll set that limit at 5 then. And in 5 minutes. Okay. Close your eyes, everyone. I see your lips moving, Dallas, but you're muted. I can't hear you.
Oh, I asked my better half to get me a glass of water. I actually put. I have a big window here, so if I don't turn my computer this way, all you'll see is sunshine and light, and you'll think I'm coming from the spirit.
Well, you are.
I know, but I mean, most people go, "Hey, close that window." Yeah, it's
Well,
pretty
that's
bright.
it. We're
Yeah.
shining the light. So I have to say that was a different experience for me than ever. I was very much having energy swirling, 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 which is which is new for me.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was a little different for me too. There was don't know how to word it, but it started out with different colors. Usually it's like this sparkly silvery color. I don't know how to describe it. Like it's not glitter, just saying. And and then it usually fades into orangey red. And it eventually got there, but it went through a couple of changes first. That was a little bit different. So I have no idea what that is, but it doesn't matter. Don't need to know.
Oh, we do. We need to know. That's the whole point of our
Well,
existence.
Dallas is going to explain it.
Well, it could be a new person in the room, maybe different ideas, maybe different ideologies. Who knows? It could be anything, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So you guys meet on a regular basis?
Yes.
Every Wednesday we come together just to have the conversation about really are you trusting, following spirit, and a lot of those conversations right now I feel are well needed because people are for lack of a better phrase they're either a with deer in the headlights or they're
Yeah.
lost in the forest.
Well, I've been buying lots of bread and throwing lots of crumbs out, and it's been working out pretty good. So it works. I mean, the awakening or the woken. We have a lot of woken people right now, which is very positive, and the message is starting to resonate with people that I don't have all the answers, but I know one answer. There is no government. There's no Canada. There's no United States. These fictions of the borders of everything they created is 100% fictional, and that's where people got to start grasping that root. The root problem we all face is that somebody somehow got the authority to tell us what to do, and they don't have no authority. Creator created us in his likeness. He gave us a place to live on, said look after it, do a good job. They give you a brain to think about things, and we have a lot of people that forgot what they really were, the true power they are. And without that power being brought back to them, and that's where I work with some amazing people. They comprehend that, what they are. They're men and women. Me being status means nothing. I mean, Indian Act enslaves me. The BNA Act slaves them. The U.S. Securities Exchange enslaves us all in the corporation in the United States. They create these prisons, and I call China's a prison, Canada's a prison, and they break us up into wards, and from those wards they become cells, and somebody give them the authority to harm us and destroy us. We got the enforcement class, which I call the police officers, the military, and it's so easy if they just stop. And I mean, most people need to stop for about a week off Facebook and social media to actually go outside and walk in nature for about a week and realize, wow, we have all this. And why am I sitting over here being destroyed when we can build something beautiful this way? So I always say we're going forward, not backwards. And, a friend of mine put a video up of years ago when I was, young man. Well, I was a young man one time, and Back to the Future, right? Back to the Future, right? Yeah. And, over the years, I've learned I can't change their opinions, but I can throw things in there that make them think a little more to comprehend. Lately they come out with these new bylaws, right? Which pissed everybody off, got them all angry, got them all frustrated and everything. And I said, you don't obey them. Don't do them. Stop paying your taxes. And they get all worried. They go, what do you mean? Well, you have to come to a conclusion. You get enough people in your local area to comprehend that they are the true source of true power. Nobody has any authority over them. They are the authority. I can't tell anybody else what to do, and nobody can tell me what to do. Now, there is rules of nature has rules. The law of nature. I prefer natural law. We're not like animals. We're not like lions and bears. That they're predators, right? That's how they have an instinct, but they don't have the capabilities that we have for intellectual thought and problem solving. Most of our problems is because people forgot how to think properly and forget one thing. What I do is my own business. What you do is your own business, as long as we don't cross that barrier. The barrier is bringing harm. If you bring harm, if I see you bringing harm, so you're mugging somebody, then I have a natural law to protect that person that's being harmed, to, apprehend that individual or whatever he is. And we hold him to a grand jury. And eventually people become more accountable and they start respecting each other. The reason we have all these problems is that society's broken into so many disillusional aspects. They think they need law. No, you don't need law. You need order, which means common sense, critical thinking, don't bring harm. And most of societies falls through the cracks because the system they designed breaks down your feelings, your ability to be what you're supposed to be. Someone's got to tell you. You mean 4 years old, you go to prison. 5 years old, you're in prison. You're locked up all day in a school. It's not a school, it's indoctrination. And that indoctrination forms and molds you to where you lose your capabilities to become a man or a woman. And the children should never be locked up in a prison. They should be out running around playing, come back home, maybe learn a little bit more. Most parents have lost the responsibility of their children. The system stole the children, and they stole them. And if you don't go along with their system, then they send in these things called social services, SS, that's what I call them, and they steal the children. They destroy the future of the children. It's the parents got to be responsible and take control. Those children are your property, and your property, you protect your property until they're old enough to become men and women. So they're responsible for themselves. It's the upbringing that you give them. And if they don't get that upbringing from you, They're not going to get it from anybody else. So when you send your kids to a prison and they teach Marxist communism, and they teach them that they're not boys or girls and have 87 genders, they're confused. They're very confused. That's the most powerful thing, is to have your children at home. I mean, myself personally, I don't think any child should be going anywhere until they're about 13, 14, 15 years old. I'm going to learn most of their trades at home anyways, with tradesmen and skills. Have them do that for 2 hours here and there. Such a more powerful thing, right? And if we don't do these things now, our children will be enslaved, which has happened. We see it very clearly. We are the last generation to really start to get the momentum to teach what sovereignty means, individual thoughts, critical thinking. And that's what I educate people about. And sometimes I get frustrated because, but today was just hilarious. I had 3 calls yesterday for me to run in the elections.
Okay. Before we go there, okay, let's just get that if what you just said for most people is what is normal for them, right? They have their children, they stick them in the school system, they follow all the rules, they believe in the BNA Act, that's really where they follow all the politicians, etc. So in the conversation of letting it go, right? It's everybody's going to come to this idea, we'll use the word woke or wakened, that come to something within themselves. And I'd like to hear for, the other guys, what has been one of those aspects that you came in face to face with within the system, right? You've been raised in, that caused you to have a different experience or make a different choice. Just Joan.
I think for me, it was coming to being raised on a farm. I got to spend a lot of time outside and a lot of time with animals and doing things like that. And then looking at history and realizing how long it's been since the human race has been free. It's been thousands and thousands of years. And when I was young, I would question about, well, why can't I just stay home, and why can't I do this? And I would want to do those things. And it was like, well, you have to go to school. We've always gone to school. And I was like, well, I don't have any other choice. And I can remember trying to battle that, having free will and being told I could do anything I want as long as I followed the rules. You can do anything you want between here and here, And then just watching that over time. And I know when people talk about not wanting to get out of the system, I think that's good. It's been thousands of years that this system has been molding and morphing and changing. I mean, you go back, like Attila the Hun, you go back thousands of years, and these systems have been warping their way around human beings in different ways, And yeah, so for me, it was just that I couldn't understand why, if I had free will and I was part of nature, why I couldn't be natural.
And so did you feel like you had to give that up in order to get along? Or
No, I felt like I had to hide it. So in here, it was like the 2-year-old going, can't tell me what to do. And out here, doing something completely different. But always nagging in my head was, if I could find a way to get away, I would. And I'd always been looking for a way of escaping or a place to go. In my head, I knew what I wanted, but couldn't find a way out of the system. I was still looking for an off-ramp, realizing that I can just take the off-ramp anytime I choose.
So when did that decision come to you that you could choose at any time versus waiting for the off-ramp?
Oh, it comes and goes all the time. Because obviously I'm not out.
Okay.
Right? And that's been the frustration and the blessing.
So can you feel that inner conflict within yourself?
Oh, yeah.
And does that manifest into physical reactions?
Yeah, twice with ovarian cancer. You're going to sprout that frustration somewhere and that dual identity somewhere. and it makes you get real fast, and then still being stuck in a system, you know, and coming out and going, where do I go? What do I do? You know? So yeah, I feel that split all the time.
Okay, so Dallas, so hearing that, like, what would you, not that you can tell anybody what to do, but what would be your coaching for Joan in how to step out and be authentically aligned within herself? Wow, this is really the first time I've heard Dallas be this quiet. No, just kidding. Are you there?
I had the annoying thing with the cell phone and got to turn them off. But it seems like Just Jean's mic's going tick, 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 tick. Is that just me?
No, that's
okay.
Part of the internet connection. Yes.
Okay. So how do you grasp going forward? Like I said, it's up to you to set, like what I do is I set the example. And I set the example by saying I am a sovereign man. There's no government. I refuse to live. I refuse their system now, 100%. And other people are going to start to learn from that. And I think that, you know, what we try to educate people is we have all these people with land that have communities. And what I mean by communities is villages, clans, pods, or whatever. Connect yourself around really good people that want the same dream, that want the same ambition. And when you're around them, it's fantastic. Yes, we have people still stuck, we'll call them sleepers, that don't comprehend what's really going on. They're going along with the system because they're afraid to move from that system because they don't see the benefit. They're afraid. They have fear. That's fine. But if they continue down the system, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, so really what you're saying is the step forward be to find community.
100%. And community, I hate the word community because it means communism, but it doesn't really mean communism if you use it properly. So we have to be very careful, you know, self-sufficient. When I see a thing as sustainable development, like French farming, I step away from it. There's some great ideas in that, but they're pushing you into it. They're pushing you into an arena. They're giving you ideas that look really good and really, prosperous. And, you know, we got the APP in Alberta Prosperity, Project, right? Which means our prosperity, not your prosperity, our future, not your future. But we're going to steal from you to create their own future, which is build back better for them, which means nothing for us. So you have to think, no, I'm in charge of my life. You move forward, and you got to surround yourself. You have to be around people that are on the same wavelength, and it's not being like-minded either. I don't want like-minded people. I want people with individual thoughts, ideas, ideologies, whatever they are. I mean, everybody has a spiritual belief, and spiritual beliefs, I believe, have to be your own spiritual belief, and they can't interfere with anybody else's spiritual beliefs. Because again, you're crossing the line. This is why they create all these Bibles and all this stuff. It's indoctrination to follow their plan, which is total brainwashing, right? So you have to escape from that reality and say that's just fiction. Somebody wrote that story. That's why it's called The Story. The news starts out in the story tonight. They're creating a story for you, and you're going to go along with it. And people lose the conceptual notion, what it really means, what it's about. It's about them. What's the greatest thing you can do is protect yourself. What's good for you is the greatest thing. Their system wants to remove your individualism. They want you to be like the Chinese and the Japanese, all lined up, walking in a straight row. And they're doing that to the people in the corporation of this thing called Canada. I call it Agent Orange because then it wakes people up, right?
Not because you're wearing orange, Joan.
No. She's wearing orange.
Yeah, and I totally agree with everything that's said. But in practical terms, I get up tomorrow and I go to work. So that internal conflict is ever present. So it's great to say find like-minded people and find community, right? I've known Greg for years. He and I talk about this all the time. It's getting that escape, like a real one, as opposed to just the mental one. It's great to have discussion with people. It's great to say, buck the system, but we are in it. So practically speaking, finding a place to live, finding food to eat. Like I can farm and I can grow stuff, but I have no place to live unless I have a job.
Okay, so that's is what we've been working on for years, is these self-sufficient communities. So there's like 40 to 70 that are built in Ontario, in New Brunswick. There's lots already built in Ontario, lots in Ontario North. Alberta is thriving on these communities. Alberta is really leading the advantage, and the projects I'm seeing from Fort St. John with Wayne up in Fort St. John, they're doing really well. Pink Mountain, all through the Beaverdale on the this would be the eastern side of the British Columbia border. We're in some areas we're strong, some areas are still weak. But the most vital thing is more and more people are starting to see this. So these communities are building, and I'll call them self-sufficient villages or networks. Out here, it's really good. So I'm in Yellowhead County. It's amazing here. I mean, I don't even have to go 5 minutes, and I'm in a conversation with the same things I'm saying. They're saying the same things. They've had enough of their system, but it takes time, and time is crucial because the system's collapsing. And as far as I'm concerned, the faster the system collapses, the faster people will wake up, and which would be great for us because they're going to look at what we're doing, and they go, "Well, that's a way better path. I get to live. I don't need privileges to talk. I don't need privileges to walk. I don't need privileges to go downtown. Blah blah blah." Right? We want to bring the people from the prisons back to the rural areas, and then the rural areas are built. It's by example, and we leading it. Yes, people are still going to have to, go to work and still do certain things until they feel comfortable. All we need is shelter, food, and water. We got those. Once our communities are built, everybody, the Creator gave us unalienable rights, not in a lie, right? Unalienable, big difference. In a lie, they can remove your rights. Unalienable rights cannot be removed by consent, by force, by violence, or etc. A lot of these enforcement officers.
Dallas, slow that one down because most people don't get the difference. So just talk about, and again, explain it very slowly so people comprehend what differences are.
Okay, unalienable rights, UN, unalienable. It's unalienable. Unalienable rights cannot be removed by force, effect, by any type of threat or any violence. Those the Creator gave to you. In a lie, they can be removed by consent. In a lie. So they call these things constitutions. So they have this thing called the United States Con Job. It's in a lie. Inalienable rights, unanimous decisions, which means 5 people can decide your future. Democracy, direct democracy, parliamentary democracy, and dictatorship, fascism, communism are all in a lie. That's the difference. And once people comprehend that, and a lot of people go, "Oh, we got the greatest constitution written in the world." No. Somebody told you it was the greatest constitution in the world because it's better than the Canadian Constitution, which doesn't exist. You can't find it. It's a dead copy somewhere in La La Land in the United Kingdom somewhere. No different than Australia. Australia doesn't have a constitution here. It has the Act of Parliament created by a bunch of lawyers, which we'll call liars, liberals, not liberals, but liars. The BR turned or creditors, etc., etc. People practice common law, British monarchy common law, all this nonsense. This was created by King James in 1666. So you got admiral law, which controls the seas. You got the maritime law, which controls the roads, highways, infrastructure, blah, 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 right? Then you got this thing called civil law, which is military law, which controls the military. Then you got this thing called common law. And all these things are all fictions to maintain their system.
Okay, so we're gonna hold on. I have to stop and break this up a little bit because I can tell people's like, whoa. As you can see, the flow of information is coming. So fiction, right? As I'm talking about this, I'm bringing Danny up into the screen here too. Is the fiction is what most people think is real life, right?
Yeah.
And one of those fictions that people think is the medical system is there to help people. I'm going to just switch it a little on that area. Everything is there, but it's really the opposite of what's true in terms of. So first of all, we want to keep things a little personal here. So I'm going to go back to since I started with Joan. So Joan, is there anything in what Dallas said that gives you any sort of sense of empowerment, or do you still feel like it's the inner battle and that's something you've got to figure out all on your own? Or do you think if let's say having Greg continuing to tune in is going to help give you that vibe? Like, what is it that's going on with you personally?
None of the things that Della said to me is new information. I've spent absolutely years, and Greg and I've talked about this in terms of my study into religion and politics and understanding where the system is and what doesn't exist. So that's I know that, right? And that heightens the sense of paralysis in terms of going and finding something different and being caught into a system and looking for an escape route. You know, I've been involved in communal living, and everybody wanted to get together and just, you know, play drums, and it actually, life takes a certain amount of effort, right? I don't want to call it work because it's not always work, it's effort. And in the communal situations that I was involved in, people weren't willing to put forth that effort for day-to-day life. So that made it difficult because you can't, like living in nature, the animals work, they put forth effort to exist.
Oh, hold on, lost you, come back.
So it's there's nothing that will bring that, like, I don't mind having the conflict, actually, because I'm aware of the way my life is going. So I don't mind having that internal conflict. It doesn't bug me. In fact, it makes me energized to find a different way, which is why I participated in this, right? And pursue that kind of path and listen to spirit. So it doesn't cause me problems. I would hate it if that split wasn't there, because that would mean that I wouldn't be looking outward, wouldn't be trying to do something different. So I'm not looking for that split to be healed. I'm looking for more of a concrete direction in following it.
Where are you at, Joan?
Ontario, north of Milton.
Okay, how far are you from Bob Cajun area?
2 hours.
Okay, get a hold of me later. I'll give you my information.
Okay.
It's straightforward. I'll put it in the chat for everybody. Get a hold of me, and I can get you connected to some people up in that area for sure.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the key things when you're looking for people in community, right? It's like you were saying, yeah, there are people that will just want to come together kumbaya. I remember being at a family house in Costa Rica, and the concept was that, like, everybody could come and stay at the house, right? And there was certain inner work you were doing, but it was quite apparent that some people were the contributors in the daily tasks, and others were sitting on the mountaintop the whole time, right? And then the little subtle dynamics that pop up with respect to that. Now, and those are, you can easily say, well, that's your experience and this is what you're learning to manage. Yet if there isn't some underlying order to these communities, eventually all those little issues start to surface, which technically is kind of what I think maybe, our whole parasitical system, as you like to call the parasites, like, they might have had good divine order intentions way back when, but they just literally started fighting, and blaming and judging and separating. But I don't know, because I wasn't back then at that particular time. Does anybody have any comments about how we would keep our communities in order?
It's a lot to do, I think, with responsibility. There, Danny's showing us the fine print. For me, it's about responsibility. I think we've been generations being responsible to the government, being responsible to your job, being responsible to the corporations, being responsible in all the ways that actually don't give us any freedom. And when you're responsible to yourself and to your community, then you stand up and say, what can I do? How can I be of benefit? And here's what I think I know, and here's what I can offer. And you don't sit there and take advantage of the system, because that's the mentality that's been trained into us for decades, that, you know, things are going to take care of us as long as we work hard to feed the system. and
Yeah, okay.
and yeah.
I was
I
just gonna
think
say,
that's sorry, Dale, let's go.
just 2 seconds thinking. So what I mean by community is this: we all have our own space. We all like our individual space, which we all want, right? So if you have a lot of land, and you know you got a lot of land that you put up 10 houses, 20 houses, 30 houses on it, you're all spaced out. Everybody works together, you know, maintaining security, protecting your local area. So that's what I mean. So some people can't live with each other. When you look at a commune, where you have one house, everybody's living there, you know, it's like that could be chaos. Everybody needs individual time to themselves. They need a space to go to their own place. So if you have land, you can put up 5, 6 cabins. You still got your own space, but you still got commitment. So the community means that you're all working for the same goals. The goals are a future. Goals are liberty, free, you know, to be free and be your own boss. At the same time, you come to agreements what you're going to add to your community. So, you know, I mean, growing gardens, doing this, plumbing, electrical, whatever, you're still building your community. So you can have individual property side by side. So a person that may have 100 acres here, 40 acres, 20 acres, 5 acres, 10 acres. That's your community. Each person's still part of your community because you're still working in the same thing. You're protecting each other. So when they send in the globalist predators, which they call enforcement officers, eventually the masses, 10%, 12%, 50%, we're at 12% now that are woken. So we're gonna get 20% here this year, in 2 months, 3 months. It's coming. Once they realize how powerful they are, all these houses that people own, wow, we have control. There'll be no more mayors. There'll be no more city council members. There'll be nobody telling us what to do. We'll take responsibility, action into ourselves. We're going to go down there, have a meeting, and say, listen, we know we got to maintain the roads. Yep, okay, we got to pay for that. We got to get Tom. He's doing that. He's doing this. This guy's doing the contract, the plow snow, gravel the roads, whatever. We're going to manage our monetary system. We're going to spend the money where we want. The services we're going to pay for. If somebody wants to build a recplex, and somebody says, I don't want to build a recplex, I'm not into it. I don't want it. Waste of money. Good. He says no. He doesn't have to pay for it. That's an individual right. But if you have a good project in a town or your community, say, we want to build a swimming pool for the kids for the winter, a tennis court, whatever, right? Swing sets, whatever. Put up a library. We got to burn all the books in the last 150, 200 years. But the thing is, we can put up those libraries and put up those educational centers or learning centers. And anybody that wants their community to grow is going to put that. They're going to say, yes, I want that. I want to build a future for my next generation, right?
Well, I'm gonna say that out here in the East, and I'm sure in some of the other places in the world, small communities had come together to do that, right? They had said, oh, we want to do this. And you would say it came from the Loyal, whatever, the Lions Club or whatever. So I think some of that has existed. What I'd like to do is defer back to Tanya because she wanted to respond back there. And then I want to get Danny in here on the conversation because he actually has, I'll let you speak about your experience, Danny, on that one. And then we'll come back into the next part of the dynamic. Okay. So down under to Australia.
I thought it was up over.
Up over. Today it's down under, maybe sideways and over. No.
Okay, around the outskirts. I've listened to so much, so I kind of lost what I was going to say, but I was going to mainly respond to what Greg said in that it's responsibility of, and I think that's a concept that people just are starting to kind of grasp. It's a big thing to say that we're all responsible for how the world is functioning and that we've allowed ourselves to have these things implemented, that we've allowed ourselves to become boxed into these little structures and routines and laws and confinements. And yes, there's a lot of fear in it because people are comfortable in that. But I also think that what has, from my experience and the things that I've come to in my understanding of myself and my letting go of things, is it is the responsibility of it. It's the thought process that how is it that we can live authentically for ourselves, each individually, because we're all doing what's right for ourselves, and yet live cohesively and as a community with nearly 8 billion other people. How does that work when everyone is different and everyone has a different perspective? And I think from my observations, my feelings, and my mental musings, I guess you could call them, is as similar to what you've said too, Jacqueline, is that you have groups of people come together, and you can see that some people there'll be the people on the hillside, and they'll just be relaxing and doing what they're doing, and then there'll be other people that are actively going and doing something. It's finding the balance between being okay with the people sitting on the wayside and doing what they're feeling like and doing nothing and just being on the hill, and those people that are going, I want to actively do things. But there's going to be that bit of a conflict. So where's the balance for everyone? That's what I notice and what I'm feeling into at the moment anyway. Yes, we've got communities, say for example, in this example, my community is my neighbours, say for example, my next door neighbour, my neighbour across the road. I can say for a certainty that there are things that from both neighbours or wherever that are not how I would choose to live. So it's the balance of being aware of and responsible for my own self and my experience in my life that I feel steps me out of being drawn into their lives and their realities and their experiences. And that's where the balance comes in for everyone in the greater, in the whole world, I think is finding that, how to do that. Can't hear you, Jacqueline, you're muted.
I was going to say, I think that's part of the journey, right? The journey is within ourselves, and to notice what we notice and to come and find that balance. At least that's been my experience. I can be on one end or the other end, but when I can come back in here and be peaceful in the middle of the storm and just be able to honor what my experience is and what I feel guided to do, I feel like the light shines brighter and it opens other people up to experience their light.
Yes, and that's my experience as well. And I find that the more I get drawn into everyone else's perspective, which is not mine because it's not authentically for me, then I become ratty, I become snappy, I become whomever I'm talking to, because it's not feeling what's for me. The more I pull back into myself and I become responsible for myself and my responses and how I feel and how I choose to go about, because the only person I can be, the only person I can change, like they say, the only person you can change is yourself. It starts with you. Bring it back to me and how I feel and how I respond. And that then impacts and flows out from me to how my responses are to the people in the community, how, I interact in the world. And that's how the change is. But there's that sort of a little bit of a lost in translation concept for people to, it's a slowly getting to, what's the word? I'm trying to think of the right word. How do you explain that to people when it's so uniquely individual for everyone? But that's, when you grasp that, it's kind of like, oh, okay, I get what you're talking about. I'll bring it back to me. It's me. And you can see the change. And it's such a simple, for me, it feels like such a simple thing to do. But on the other side of it, it was like when I wasn't there, it was just like, this is really friggin' hard. how do you do this? How do I, how am I supposed to be wonderful and loving when I hate the guts out of the people next door? Or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah. But it seems on this side of it, it seems like such a simple thing. And, it's just like, where's the click? What's the thing that's going to trigger people off to realize that this is just how it goes. And this is how you perpetuate this, being able to work in balance and live in balance, but be authentically yourself.
Well, it's most people are always looking for one thing that will change it for them. And I think people that are looking for that one thing that's going to change it for them are disappointed after disappointed after disappointed, because it's always about the journey. It's always about the 1,000 thought processes you have to come up with whatever decision you make. It's much more complex than there's never the magic pill. There's never the magic arrow. That's just, to me, is all bullshit. You know what I mean? And you have moments that it feels like that when something happens, like it's like, wow, that was amazing, but that's still just one little blip in 1,000 blips you have to go through to enter into anything. And like the whole thing of community again is for me is something that I've wanted since I was probably maybe 6 or 7 years old. So, and I kept looking for community in places that were still inside the systems, because I didn't know any better at a young age, right? So I was always looking for it inside, inside different things like belief systems or religion or, well, Boy Scouts. I went for one day, told them all where to go, and never went back. So it's the way that people are going to get along is it's like and you've heard me say this before. Dallas hasn't heard me say this yet, but I'm sure he's heard this before. It's the level of honesty that you can carry about who you really are. Because if you can carry that level of honesty, and it's not to be perfect, because like I don't know anyone that is there, and anyone that claims that, I really don't want to talk to them too much. And
oh, I'm always perfect.
Not always.
Okay,
I know that. Okay, I'm.
So when you have that level of honesty with yourself, and you allow yourself to not be perfect, you can allow other people to be not perfect, and you can actually still go talk to them about what really bugged them, what really bugged you about what they did. Because if they're carrying honesty too, they will listen. They might not be able to fix it, because we're humans. Like, I have a list of things that I've been putting off in my life for a long time. And like Jackie, feels pretty free to point those out to me often.
Well,
but we laugh about it, right? We
Right.
laugh about it because it's not, I said to her, we were talking earlier today, and I said, that's as much as I'm going to admit today. That was it. Because I didn't, it's just not the time for me to actually, it's not that big of a challenge where I think I need to conquer it right away. So we all have our journeys, but to me, that's always the key, is that level of honesty. Mm-hmm. That to me is everything. Because if someone's really doing their best to be the most honest person they can, then it's easy to forgive them. It's easy, but it depends. If they make the same mistake 30 times in a row and within an hour, you start to question it a little bit. But so
Is that like voting?
Can I take the platform once again?
Yeah.
Okay. Honest are you with yourself? Okay. There's a big question there. First thing first, Dallas, did you receive what I sent you by PDF? I can't hear nobody now.
Sorry, no, I did not receive it. Was it emailed to me?
Yeah, you sent me your email. I sent many times. It keeps on bouncing back, so I don't know why.
I haven't got it. So let's get that resolved today. You got a pen or paper handy right now?
We'll do that at the end, not to cut on the other people's time, but just so that whatever Dallas was saying, it's all in there. I have a PDF version, which will somebody that prefer to read it and
is there any
look
pictures?
and search document. It's basically all there. the scam of Canada, and everything is in there. So that's part 1. Part 2 is coming. Okay, so I just wanted to go there. I'm with you, Thunder Bear, about community. I searched for a few years. I stopped counting how many meditation and ceremony or stuff that I did to try to find out what would be the best community. And my feeling about it is that we're just going to build them, and we'll see from there, because there's no best or wrong or good or bad ways of doing them. For me, because I'm a traditional native, everything's going to be on a circular basis. There's no pyramidal, nobody on top, everybody's equal. What we decided, a few group of us, we all want to start our own communities, and my group would like it to go one way. The other group wanted to go the other way, and the other group want to go another way. So we decided we're all going to go do our own ways. But because we're all native, we decided we're going to keep the basic of the native ways, the traditional ways there. And after that, we'll reconvene together and see what works and what doesn't work. I did some research with a group that were a religious group or from India, from all over the place, their way of doing stuff. And basically, you always have a problem. There's people that always going to push to help the community grow themselves, grow spiritually, and you always have the other bunch that just want to take advantage of everything. So I'm going to talk for what we want to do in our community. We decided that beside the native traditional ways, what we're going to do is we're going to give a room and board, food free for everybody that joined. Okay, but for everything else within the community, let's say that you want to go out of the community and you need a bit of the paper to go buy something out or whatever. So we're going to install like an exchange, a token within the community. So if you do nothing, you sit on you're behind all day and you look at everybody, well, you're still going to have food, so you're still going to have a place to sleep. But whatever else that you need, if you don't help the community with some labor or exchange or teaching or whatever, well, you're not going to benefit from all of the other means that the community will put forward. So this, it's not too bad. It's our best solution for us. It might not work. Those community that there's a group that says, well, we don't install any money, any exchange. We put everything in the center of the community. Anybody that needs it takes it. But I pretty much think that some people will abuse that. Always going to be the same people going there and everything. So, and we have to accept that people on the planet, there's. Even if we accept people or if people come within the community, there's going to be people that there's a level of understanding that's there. Some other there, some other there. Not because they're there, they're better. But those will probably put more within the community than those that are here, because those here don't understand the real meaning of what we're doing. But eventually, if they're surrounded by enough people within the community and enough support, they might understand that they're being on top there and there's advantage, So it's always the balance. I don't know where my camera is. It's a balance thing, So if you don't put your shoulder to the wheel, why would you get the flour from the grinding wheel, So you're not pushing the wheel, There's so much to do within a community. And, even if you're like Dallas, well-informed about the whole system and everything, just teaching, So we will say that for us, that you're the teacher, the guy that clean the toilets or do the plumbing or the farming, everybody will have the same token per hour because we're going to put per hour of work within the community, so it's our solution because people are so used to exchange time for something else that before everything is set or done or we get a better system or people get more spiritually evolve or inclined within the community, that's how we're going to start our own stuff. By experience, we started the community on the island of Miscou, I think almost 6 years ago. There were 110 people at the beginning because everybody wanted to get something from within the native rights we have from treaties and everything. So we dropped one. I said, no. I said the community is a traditional community. We do the smoke, the smudge. We do the ceremonies. We do the sweat lodge and everything. And for that, we need help for gathering the grandfathers, the rocks, the wood. Some people to chop the wood. Then we drop half of the people just left. So I say every time we ask for help to do a ceremony because. A fun fact about it, you need wood, firewood, so somebody needs to go get the wood. If we need to buy it, somebody needs to pay for it, So the community has, we're in the, we're minus zero in the bank account of the community. So it's all come from the pocket of the maybe 3 to 4, 5 people within the community, but bread and butter for everybody is being scarce now, so just to keep the community alive is a challenge now, so, and the sad thing is that every time we do something, I turn around, there's 1 or 2 guys behind me supporting us. The rest, bye-bye, because there's work. There could be money that we need, people to bring food. So, they quit. So it's very, 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 very hard to have a community going, So that's a big challenge because people don't understand what the community should be yet, So, but eventually I'm pretty sure that... Well, I know for a fact I prefer to be only 5 strong guys or girl, 5 strong person than being 200 that are weak or not really involved, So 5 good ones is better than a bunch of people that will just want to get the benefits, So for us, we clean that out, The native benefits, you're not getting them if you don't get involved, So within the native community, there's a lot of trouble, even more than even with the British Act community, So there's so much jealousy through government give money to one bunch, but not to the other bunch. So they start fighting, and there's so many level of you're not native enough, you're too native, you look white, you don't have the big nose or your skin is not dark enough. Or there's so many crap about it, You got native blood, you have the blood. And part of a self-governance and self-identity and self-sovereignty, it's to know who you are. So, so I don't need a government to tell me if I'm native or enough or not enough or whatever, So I don't want the damn card, I know who I am, So people that... I've been entrusted with a pipe and to do ceremony. They know who I am, So I look at my elders that recognize me. I don't need, and they're not part of the government or any other organization. The older native that still have a lot of knowledge. That needs to be passed down. And I have nobody to pass down what I've learned because people don't get involved. That's my main problem is people getting involved. If they don't get a benefit, why would they stay with us? So the one we have, they're really. We did a few ceremony with Mama Bear and Thunder Bear, and for me, that's all I need. So But to have other people to join, hey, guess what? It's still a challenge, you know. So that's the reality of New Brunswick right here, and trying to keep a community alive, you know. But it's okay. I'm gonna see Mama Bear soon, and Thunder Bear is gonna come soon, and eventually I'm gonna go to Ontario this summer. There, I need to go to Two Mohawks community, and we'll find a way to send that to Dallas. I got it PDF, so any people want it, I'll try to send it PDF to your email. At the end, you can all put your email somewhere there, private chat. But Dallas, when I send you that, it's being blocked. It's
Yeah, that's what we've noticed this in the last like a lot. We lost all of our YouTube channels and all our Brighteon channels, and now they're taking down our Rumble channels. And we knew that was going to come. So our strategy is still the same strategy. Our strategy, we use multiple emails, so we do have other emails that you can get to it. So I'll give you multiple emails that we have. We have We the People on Constitutional Conventions page. You can go there and upload the PDF files right to there. On that page, you'll have Eric, Wanda, a whole bunch of people. Just contact them. They have emails. I know they target my emails and whatever I say because they don't like what I do, right?
They don't like what I do too.
So when you talk about communities, you mentioned some very good things. So we've adapted, and I comprehend how it is to build a community. We had one in Cranbrook, which was my kids, and that's a big community because I have 5 children, and those 5 children all have different ideas, and then plus they have their husbands and boyfriends, except they all have different ideas too, right? But what I explained to them was this: whatever you build, you're building for your future. Remember that. So last year Mike went through 17 people. He brought out 17 people on his project. 17. So he brought more than that out, but he got rid of 17 last year. 17. And I brought people out here last year too. And some people were fantastic, but they didn't have the capabilities. And I'm not at a point in my time on what we're building here to be a caregiver and a caretaker. I need responsibility. I need people to work, and they don't have to work hard. I mean, the main structure of the work was done by Kai and myself and a few others. So it's pretty easy walking now. We got showers, we got water, we got food, we got a kitchen area. These things are done. Me and Wanda spent 6 weeks in a tent, and we had a great time. We had a fire, maybe cooked on a fireplace. We got that going, and we gradually went further forward, right? Now, when they show up, they've got a kitchen, they've got hot water, they've got showers, they've got, I cut 50 cord of wood last year, so there's wood. So those tasks are taken care of. We make it easier for them to come out, but at the same time, we want responsibility. The gardens are very big. We got a huge garden on the front. It's very large, and we have other stuff and apple trees. This work's been built and structured. Now the new people coming out, they're going to have the luxuries of that. And their workload is going to be less, but they still got to work. And myself personally, I look at all these people struggling, and they are struggling. $3,000 a month in rent. They got to buy hydrant. They got to buy this. They got to buy this. They got to buy this. So it's $5,000 a month. They got to pay out with the corporate system. Now we're seeing a big fluctuation where a lot of people are going, "Wow, I don't have $5,000 a month to pay." Plus, then you got to add your food on. Food's doubled and tripled. We had so much food last year that, just come and get it for free. We don't care. And that's the idea. We keep moving forward, and we just, I look at it like this. Wow, you're going to get up in the morning at 6 o'clock. Yeah, you're going to go out there because it's cool. You're going to work a couple hours in the garden. You're going to take the afternoon off, go sit down in the pond, go swimming. Last year, Kai would shut it down around 10:30 and go back to work at 5:30 because it's so hot. It's not rocket science, and you start to live your life. You start enjoying life, and that's so important. You're not going to this 9-to-5 slave job all day, and by the time you get finished, you've already spent all your money on gas, insurance, etc., etc. How many vehicles do you need? We all need a vehicle. All 40 of us, 50 of us, 100 of us? Not really, no. 4 or 5 vehicles and go to town, pick up the product, pick up what you need. It's such a different wavelength. So my message is take everything you got in their system, take it out and buy everything. You can buy, 5 tractors, 3 cabins, etc., etc. Because what you got in their system is going to be gone. And that's a big concept that people can't really figure it out yet. But eventually, the token thing is fantastic. The monetary system is going to be one of the most important things that we create. We might always, the labor back dollar is blood, sweat, and tears. A labor back dollar can never be changed. An hour for an hour is trade. Like, I mean, there's a guy who was doing, I mentioned this a few times, even last night, a guy came in with a flagger. As a medic and as an engineer, system engineer, I had to struggle at the very bottom too. But one time I had to be a flagger for a half an hour on the side of the highway to relieve somebody. And I asked the guy, I said, how much you get an hour for this? He said, $18 an hour. I said, I wouldn't be out here for less than $100 an hour. That is the hardest job I've ever had in my life. Standing there for an hour, holding up a sign, going like this, no shade, no chair to sit down on. Could you imagine doing that all day? That's a tough job. People do it though. Each person does it what they have to do to survive.
Mhm.
And I mean, don't get me wrong. We still got to look after everything. But if they started figuring out what they can do differently to build their life better, way better. And, ideas of all this land we have. The Crown took a bunch of land, and then they built the concentration camps that people call reserves. The reserve, a lot of people don't understand what reserve mean. They call it reserve because they're trying to be played. Under the Indian Act, the government, the what do you call them? They had a special name for it. It was not the commissioner, but another name. The superintendent. You apply for your house. You get the superintendent gives you a house. You apply for this. You apply for this. You apply for this. As long as you want to kill the Indian within the Indian, you can have all this stuff. But the concentration camp, the government, didn't build your house. The government stole your wealth, replaces it with a house or a structure, but you never own that house. That belongs to them, to the Indian Act. So they can remove you from your house. You don't own the land. You don't own nothing. It's a big prison. It's a concentration camp. And the people that are under the BNA Act think they get all this free stuff. Not really. What they did was they created a trust and said, listen, we can't trust you because you're an Aboriginal, you're an Indigenous person, you're Native. So we're going to put everything in trust, and we can't trust you to look after it. So we'll look after it for you. But don't worry, we'll rob and pillage you, and we get control of everything and steal trillions of dollars on your assets of your wealth, and we'll give you a few crumbs. Pretty good deal. No, it's not a good deal. So we're going to walk away from their system. This land is unceded land. The Corporation of Canada owns nothing. They usurped it. When people start comprehending that, and they use the right words, no, illegal, fiction, lawful is right. And as we progress, it's going to get stronger and stronger. I know I'm very prominent what I say to people, and I try to get the message very clearly to people. It's my way. I want sovereignty. I don't want their way. It's the highway. Highway of death, highway of tears, whatever you want to call it. We want to go forward, and more people are going to go forward with us now. They've had this 5 years of this fake pandemic, all this structural damage, economic damage, and they're seeing they don't like the concentration camp or the reserves anymore. The 15-minute reserves are starting to wake them up. What do you mean 15 minutes? Yeah. So we will win when we all speak what we want. What do we want? We want liberty, we want freedom, and we want a future, and we want healthy food. That's the direction we're all going in, and that's going to resonate with everybody, and it's going to keep growing and growing and growing. We build it, they're going to join us because they're going to look at, wow, that's a way better life. That's my opinion, and I see it now very clearly, and we had to build it. It takes time.
The last meeting we did, that's why that was mentioned that a lot of people that understand what's going on, but will not move to a new community and everything until they see something better. They will not move. So we need to set example with those communities, and people will just gather by a lot of people are just so comfortable in their system, okay, or just they accept where they are or accept the system because they think that there is nothing better to do or nothing to look forward, or there's no option for them, so they're closed-minded. So I stopped trying to teach or to tell people that that would be better, or the vax is no good, or blah blah. So I decided, I said, well, we're just gonna build it, do it, and people just gonna join by themselves, and probably also that the right people will come by themselves. But there's not a big percentage of leaders or teachers out there, so we have to do the job to show what would be the better option for the humanity. If nobody shows them, nobody's gonna jump the ship, So there's a whole saying that says a monkey will never switch branches until he knows that the other branch is better or more sicker, So a monkey will not jump to a weaker branch, because he's going to put himself in jeopardy. So
Well,
basically, yes.
Thunder Bear and I he was sharing earlier about Wile E. Coyote and in Roadrunner, is that it? Yes. And how he would jump off the cliff. And I think in some cases that's been my experience. I didn't know where the other branch was. Okay. All I knew was there was something inside me that strongly said, you need to take this step. And if I waited for that stronger branch, I could still be I could be dead. I could have been in that, who knows, right? But I think that's what I would like people to get from this, is that something within themselves is speaking to them now, even if they have yet to really listen. And one of those, that we're calling out to is we can say, hey, we're going to create community and we're going to create a different space. And I know I've heard it other people say, and I probably said it myself, is like, well, how do you know you're going to do it any differently? Like, how do you know it's going to work this time? Because I think people did, in some cases, have a better intention. So the idea is you got to let go of what you've known. Okay, you have to let go of the past and what the systems are, or who built the roads, or how it's going to be. And you got to be willing to be like Wile E. Coyote and kind of jump off that cliff and go where you're guided to go. And you land in a community. Let's say you go out to Alberta and you go, okay, this is not as cool as I thought it was going to be, and maybe that's not for you. People are only going to know when they have the experience.
Yeah, but unfortunately, 80% of the population will not take that jump, that leap of faith. Not yet.
That's okay. From my perspective, that's okay. It's like I say, it's like a great disaster movie. 80% are extras. They're falling off the bridge, okay? They never make it across. And that's what makes it a great movie.
Yeah, well.
So Danny was talking
we're not
about,
that many.
You were talking about the monkey, and one of the things, if you put a banana in a jar, the monkey will reach in and not let go of the banana, and will stay there trying to pull the banana out for hours without understanding that it's the shape of it and all that. And that's our society, because like people want their retirement funds, they want their medical benefits, they want dental, they want to get free glasses every 2 years. There's a long list. They want to come home and just turn on the running water without seemingly having to work for it, because they haven't realized that they're giving up their entire life, their soul, everything. That's what's paying for that. And they don't get that. And so I think what's going to come before the community is just awakening, because that's what will lead people to the community and want community, is to have that light bulb go off in their head going like, this just seems all wrong to me, and I don't feel whole in this anymore. And what else? What are my options? And then they're going to lose friends, because their friends are all going to be chasing their carrots, and they're going to be going like, oh, what's wrong with you? You're losing it. And it's then you're going to struggle with family, because family thinks, oh my God, you You got to keep that job. Like growing up, I only ever heard my parents talk about like they'd look at someone who had lots of money going, oh, they have it made, they did it. They never talked about happiness. They never talked about like the torture that they go through to keep maintain that amount of money. Like there was so much missing out of that equation, so much. But that's the eyes of people stuck in the matrix, right? They only look at that going, oh, it's the bigger pile of money, the more freedom I have. And it's like, and that's a rat trap that just stinks so bad, and it doesn't really exist. That's why, people that they start getting into lots of money, they show them on their boats with all the young girls in bikinis jumping around. It's like, ooh, look at me. I've got all of this. And it's like, they've lost all the sacred idea of what actually sex is. It's not free. There's a cost to that. And like there's so many things that we have lost the concept, the real cost of what it is. And I think it's that spark, and I see that happening with people. They're kind of being dismayed with all this stuff, and then they need that spark, and that spark, when it lights, it's going to actually start a fire that they're not going to understand. It's going to make them very confused because everything they dreamed of is going to be gone. And then what really is going to matter is what it feels like inside. And then they'll come looking for community. Because like
it's funny, I was that guy. You described it pretty good.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. And I say I'm fortunate because I was only 29 when I had that made that decision to leave corporate and take off to Africa, which is where my life changed. But so I know within myself how there was something in me that said, this can't be what life's about. Just working my butt off and owning all these things and being sick inside, physically, mentally, emotionally, but everybody thinking you've got it made, right? So that's where I say, if I could have been raised in the world that most people think the kids are being raised in now, that they want everything. And heck, I did think money was the answer, just like you said, but your parents was like, money's the power, right? And got to make as much money as you can. So that demonstrates success and blah, 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 blah. And then it was discovering this emptiness, this complete unfulfillment, that this can't be what this experience is supposed to be. And I will remember those people that I met in Eastern and Southern Africa. None of them were like the ones that they show on TV. Their eyes were full of a different life than what I'd seen in North America. And I was like, and your resources are like basically none, like my walk-in closet was bigger than their hut. You know what I mean? Like, so it was such a mind altering shift for me. And that was when I was like, okay, I can never go back into that world again. Right. And then I thought that was stepping out of it. But it's like now we're having these dialogues and you continue the deeper you go down the rabbit hole in this experience, the greater the awareness of all the lies and habits and deceit that you were taught. And then it's just kind of like, does it ever end? And I would say, yeah, it does when you realize, if that's when you say you have awakened, you kind of go, it's a no now, right? I've got to exercise my no, because my yes means nothing if I can't say no, Joan.
For me, it was a little different because I knew this was all bullshit by the time I was about maybe 5. And I really because I didn't know anyone who thought like me or behaved like me, I spend my life knowing that this was all horseshit, trying to find a way to live in it. And that's why up until I was about 40, I really believed that God put me on the wrong planet. I was pretty confused by the whole thing. I thought like God fucked right up. I thought like this isn't good. You know, I told you the story. Like I was about 8 years old and I was laying in an orchard by me and I'm standing in the orchard. This I can imagine somebody, if somebody was watching, it would have been priceless. I wish I actually had someone videotape it because it'd be just lovely.
We can reenact it.
Yes, we'll hire actors. And I was 8 years old and I'm standing in this field and I am swearing at God, shaking my fist, going like, you screwed up. Like I got the wrong parents. You got the wrong planet. This is horrible. This is all horseshit. Because I knew that part of, I remember like, I'm going to get into some other weird stuff, but like, I remember my conversation before I incarnated this time. And part of that was that I'm going to find all these loving, amazing people, right? And so I was born in like, you know, shit show of a family and et cetera, and it took years of me just like searching and I couldn't find it. So for me, like I was born fully awake, but I did a different route than most people because I was just too angry. I was like pissed off. I was like if you respected me, I respected you. And if you didn't, and I was very psychic at a young age, I'd hear thoughts. So if a teacher like said, "Oh, look at this little shit," I would stand up at my desk and say, "Pardon." So, you know, and so like I didn't get along in a whole lot of areas in my life, and it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. And then yeah, so I can't say that I didn't know because I did. And I'm weird in this sense because I know I'm a Wendigo and that like I always just really just wanted to fit in. I wanted to be normal. And I
What's
don't
normal?
anymore. Trust me, I don't. I'm good. I'm good now. But like there was a whole lot of years that being normal and fitting in and every time I did one step forward to fitting in normal, my whole insides would just erupt and like, oh my God, what is this shit? So I'd step back and I experienced that scenario thousands of times in my life going like, you know, and then when I started meeting people that I thought were like me, like the whole new agey movement. And to me, I thought after a while, like this is just all such fluffy horseshit. I can't even stand it. You know, everyone would read a book and then they would all say the same lines. Everybody, everywhere you went, there'd be like 10 catchphrases that were popular because Deepak just wrote a new book and they would all say it and it meant nothing. It meant nothing. They like I'm going, you guys are so full of shit. You're just repeating what you've heard. You have no
Namaste.
what's that?
Namaste. Namaste. No.
Yeah.
Namaste.
Yes. Yes. They had no concept of really what they were saying. And no
Hypnotized.
feelings behind it, no experience with it. And yet they were actually all acting like, wow, I really got something going on. And I thought, oh my God, run. So it got to the point for me where actually I just sat back, I guess like maybe 15 years back or something like that. I thought, well, I just got to wait because like that's what I got to do. And that's I was just praying one night going, okay, I can't have all these gifts and not use them. It's just ludicrous. And then I demanded that something happen and then Jacqueline called and COVID hit and all that, like all kinds of neat stuff happened. Like, I'll just tell you, Dallas, I think everyone else has heard that. Like, as soon as COVID hit, I went up to my wife and I said, this is the moment that I've been waiting for to come out of the closet. And then I still waited a year before Jacqueline called me because she's a little slow on the uptake.
I was busy dealing with my own experience to realize Bill, that the police aren't there to help you. I had to learn that one before I could come to you. Okay. And then, you know.
All of you guys blossom when you start to come to New Brunswick.
I blossomed just prior to.
We come together. I feel like I need to play the Beatles song, you know, come together. Or we've gone.
Well, I'm very excited to come out and do ceremony with you on your land, Danny, for sure. I am.
Yeah, well, the land won't move.
Whoa, that's deep. That's really deep.
The TP won't fly with the wind either. The rain inside it, but that's okay. I can deal with it.
Okay. So I think this has been a very spirited conversation, and we've touched on a lot of things. And I think if this is the vibe that we're putting out there, that it's going to clear some of the cobwebs for some people. Because really it is about each of us, but it's about everybody else also, that they've got to decide within themselves. And I think that's what we've been sharing, that we all had to learn our own way and travel our own path. And that loving group of people that I think that you've been waiting for is what's going to show up now in this brand new world. Like I said to Dallas, I said, I feel like March 2020, everybody was shoved in the chrysalis, and they're caterpillar and they're, going into a butterfly. Now, a lot of them will die. They'll never get to be the butterfly. But that's a sense. When we start realizing we're all transformed individuals and the old life is gone away, it's going to help those that really want to be a butterfly. And I think that imagery is popping up in more ways than we know. And one of the things I remember, it was January 2020 in Australia. They had the wildfires. They were the worst, it was the worst wildfire that they had going. I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tanya, but there were a lot of butterflies that showed up after the wildfire was gone, like it was done, and nature was sprouting back quite quickly. But I'd heard people say the butterflies were all showing. And so those are the little things I grab onto to make my story stick, because that's the truth, because it's mine.
It's all depend on how you see it. Fire is not an ending; it's a new beginning. So
there was a lot of a lot of plants that needed the fire to activate the seeds and to get that new growth. And I sort of come from the perspective of that. Yes, it's fire, and it's a horrible thing if you're having to go through it. It's a very confronting, traumatic, big thing, but it had its purpose, and it needed to clear the land, because there was a lot of distress, because it was very old forest, very old rainforest, and been there for hundreds of years, and that was the despair that people were feeling down there. But as Jacqueline said, there was a lot of new growth in that, and there was a lot of change in the energy, and it feels different. And that's how I felt. That's how I kind of feel with things. There's a lot of shift going on. It's just changing the energy. So, yeah.
Nothing happened without a reason,
Yeah.
So it's all our perception of, you can perceive the fire as being very bad, but maybe it was a good thing after all. We don't know. Maybe Mother Earth needed to cleanse that part of herself.
Yes.
So maybe without the fire, maybe you guys would have a humongous locust invasion. You don't know. So Mother Earth knows best. She knows how to fight us. She knows how to clean herself. So that's what we say here. The trees, the nuts. When Mother Earth has too many squirrels, the old trees stop producing nuts. So some of the weaker squirrel will die in the winter, and the stronger will survive. It's a cleansing, Fire was a cleansing,
Yeah, and if you look at the age of the planet, 100-year growing season is still actually very short.
I missed that.
I said, if you look at the age of the planet, 100-year growing season is still very short.
Oh yeah. So most of us here, whatever we're gonna do, whatever we're gonna plant the seeds from, we'll never see the shadow of it, and that's when you're with the right group of people, So I know we're not doing that for ourselves, It's for others behind us, So most of us could probably have retired and be down south and having a pina colada right now, you know. But we pass for the stupid people that are completists, that are cuckoo because we do ceremony and because we want to make a better planet, you know. So, but hey, I'm proud to be in that gang, you know. I'm gonna make
Me
it
Well,
too.
today.
everyone that the government says they should ban and get rid of is all the people I want to hang out with.
My friend already. My friend already. So, but you're all right.
So-
I mean, the thing is, once they see, I mean, like I mean, I was a truther back in the 1980s, 1990s, 2000s. You know, I watched Occupy. I don't know no more. I watched all the nonsense, the controlled opposition, distractions, the voting, et cetera, I watched it and I went, wow, they still haven't figured it out yet. But eventually they will figure it out. The more pain, the more suffering, the more hardship, which they're starting to face now. I did in 2019, I came forward again, right? And I watched for quite a few years, about 4 years I took off, just, you know, still working and examining and researching, watching who's in the zoo, what kind of zookeeper they're bringing in now, et cetera, right? And 2019, before I started my tour again, I went public. I said they'll have a moron virus and people are going to be running around and hiding out, like, you know, sort of like the moron virus about hiding in Afghanistan, underground bunkers and blah, 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 right? 9/11 thing. And I went public with that and I told everybody this is what's going to happen. And people thought I was crazy. I said, that's fine. I am crazy. You know why I'm crazy? Because my world is a lot different than your world. So right now, your world's insane, but my world's kind of crazy because it's crazy new. But we're going to see huge growth here. We're seeing huge growth. I'm going to tell you, you know, every 6 months ago, every week we are doubling with people coming in asking questions. People that thought we were crazy 4 years ago, 3 years ago, they had to go through all those vices. They had to go down the tunnels and go, okay, I'm going to get a lawyer. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to do this.
Right.
Okay, go do that. But I can save you a lot of time because it's all going to fail. But I'd say at the same time, work on that stuff that you want. Keep fighting in their system. Keep fighting their system, but build your own system. And that way you're not losing. If you're building your own system and fighting in their system, you're still winning. And that's the message. Now the people that took that advantage and went that way, starting to build their own system, they're way ahead of a lot of people that sat there and wasted time on convoys, petitions, and they didn't build their system thinking, I'm going to fight them in court, I'm going to win. And I look at all the, you know, the amount of money they spent. Rocco Galati, the constitutional lawyer, which is a lie, he's a fraud. He's not a constitutional lawyer. Canada doesn't have a constitution.
Right.
But that's okay. You can tell people that and they go, well, he's a constitutional lawyer, but he's not a lawyer. He's a BR attorney. He works for the Crown Corporation, and the Crown Corporation is not going to give up what they have. They use Roman law. That's the final stage. It's a total dictatorship. So they wasted $50 million donating to these court cases, the convoys, 11 million, 12 million wasted on convoys. They could have taken $11 million and they could have built a lot of communities with $11 million. Then they got to buy shirts and hats. You got to be part of the club. You got to buy yourself, every type, it's like the NHL hockey players. I'm going to collect all 27 teams. Next year, I got to buy all new shirts because they keep changing the shirts. They keep changing
Dallas,
the shirts. Yeah.
I was just about to start to market your hat.
You like my hat?
Yes.
It's real and it's a tree. Just kidding. But I mean, everything, it's okay. It's okay to build stuff that you need. This hat's really good because Kai wore it all summer last year because of the sun out here. But buy what you need. Invest in yourself. Invest in your future. Invest in your community. And but what I mean by community is the people that you're with. Like I said, nobody can live in the same quarters. Some can, some can't. We have grown up to be free, independent individuals. You look back at the originals; they had teepees. Look at the originals they had on the coast. They had like longhouses. Like they had all different types of things. They had a space to go to their own space to be with themselves. Right? That's the idea. A community is organized people that want a future. So you get enough people in that community. So like let's say the community I'm in. There's about in the surrounding area, probably about 25,000 people. Out of that 25,000 people, 23,900 are awake. That's awesome. They're really awake. When I went to Vancouver on my tour, there was 2 million, and there was 35 that are awake, and 2 million living in La La Land.
Right.
So, I extrapolate. I'm a mathematician, right? So I look at everything. So when I did my tours across the Corporation of Canada, the first tour was about 5.5 months in 2009, 2007. That was my big one. And I saw a lot of things. I went to Cape Breton, Newfoundland. I went to Cabot Trail. I went to Halifax. I went all these places. And I just talked to people. I built the friendship. The next tour was better because now I saw more people. And then 2010, I went on a pretty good tour with the G20 with that parasite Harper to hear what that parasite wanted to do to us and murder us. So I listened and got, I listened to what he had to say. I went to the SPP agreements in Montebello, Quebec, with Security Prosperity Partnership, and listened to what those parasites were just deciding for us in the future, right? You got to listen to your enemy. And your enemy is straightforward how they're working. They tell you exactly what they're going to do. I mean, I read United, UN Agenda 21 to kill you off the people. And they went, well, they're not saying they're going to kill us. No, they said they're going to take your land, sustainable development, reduce population to 1 billion people, reduce the population of the Corporation of Canada by half. So we're just going to have some miraculous thing. Everybody's going to get sick in the next 3 weeks, 5 months, and just die off. That's not killing people. No, that's depopulation. There's too many people on the planet. We've got to do this. Well, yeah, there is too many people on the planet. I agree 100%. Parasites got to go. Lawyers, judges, anybody that wants to work in that system to harm me, we got to depopulate them. That's the problem. Educated individuals that want to bring no harm, I love them. Anybody that wants to work respecting my rights and my freedoms and respect me as a man, I'll respect you. If your children are in trouble, I'll be over there to help your children out. That's what community means, security. So we're securing our future by working together. Every single person, the biggest thing I always found was people understand constitutions. Well, Canada's a constitution. It's a great constitution for the globalists, but a horrible constitution for a man or a woman. So we'll create a constitution better than theirs, which gives us unalienable rights, freedom, property. It's a contract between each other. Simple fact. A handshake of a constitution is a contract. The contract with your creator is a contract. I promise not to harm people, and they promise not to harm me. That's a contract. So you have to go slow with them. So I love what they created now. In the last 3 years, I watched them go from a constitution that was, sort of like the old constitution, but more adapting down to a real constitution, which gives them everything they want. It's part 1 to 8. And so simple. Unalienable rights are always yours. Very important. No one can tell you what to do. Perfect. You're your own boss. Love it. But you will decide in your future what you want to pay, what you want to do. And every man and woman that wants to build their area so it's protected, to bring in a fire department. These are all great things. We're going to be on board for that. We all want the same thing. We're not moving off grid. We're going to remove them off our grid. We're taking everything back. And eventually more people will see that and they're going to respect that. We're not going to be in dark ages. We all have great minds. I mean, think about this logically. Our forefathers built this nation. They built it. Mechanics, plumbers, all these types of different trades. But the system they created from the globalists was to destroy us, pollute it. And I saw this. I went to Shell and all these companies said, we're polluting. We got to clean it up. No, don't worry about it. Part of the UN Agenda 21 will make it so polluted that they're going to ask for us to help them. Well, I don't want no part of that. That's insane. We want people that want to build, right? Not to destroy.
Why wanting to create a new constitution? It's still their own mindset,
Well, it's not about building a constitution. It's trying to get them to comprehend that they created something over there that harms us. Well, we can create something better. Eventually, I see a world where everybody's just they're gonna go out there and just go live. They're gonna look back, in 1,000 years ago. What a bunch of idiots! What were they doing? They could have been living living, right?
Like
It's
a
just so
guideline of living, you know, or
Yeah.
community guideline, not
yeah,
a
that's
constitution.
that's what it is. It's small. It's part 8. You know, 1 to part 8. You can look at it. It's very well done. They've really improved over the last 2 years, 3 years, and now they understand that. And some individuals are coming with different ideas. They're the same ideas. Anybody that wants a future, and we have all these people. I got contacted by a guy from the States today, and we're going to be doing something with him too. It's awesome because the republics are no different than us. It's no different than Great Britain. I got a show coming up in the United Kingdom next week. It's going to be really good because I've watched them. I see what they're doing. They're doing the same thing we're doing. Self-governance is self-sufficiency. Self-sufficient men and women are the leading example to what we want. Everything they do to harm us. Everything we do, we're doing to better ourselves. And people are going to see that, right?
Or everything they're doing that seems to be harming us is giving us the opportunity to wake up to who we are, right? Like there is that thought process that that it's all happening for us. We're not a victim. People do get to make a choice. They've always got to make a choice. You always have the choice to file your taxes or not file your taxes.
Free will.
People never felt they could exercise their choice. And I think that's what most experience. And I was saying to you earlier, it's like when people say, oh, I was forced to take the vaccine. And I go, no, you weren't. Yeah. They did everything they could to tell you had to take it, but you actually made the choice based on your own situation, whether you rationalized it because you were going to lose your job or because you wanted to see grandma or because you wanted to go to school, whatever it was, you made the choice. So I really want, people have always made choices. They've always had free will. That has never changed. They've just felt so constrained and so controlled that they never had the faith to step out and trust that jump off like Wile E. Coyote, that they would be okay if they did something different.
See, Dallas, I will agree and disagree about the convoy and everything that was done because no matter what, it did the worldwide awakening because people say, hey, the Canadians are rebelling against their own government. The quiet, good, calm, polite Canadian are actually revolting. Then after that, other countries started to make convoys, So, it did plant a seed, so we have to start to change our mindset to stop saying
I knew 6 months in advance, Danny. I knew 6 months in advance they were planning it. And I want to explain to you why they're planning it, because we were working on a project in the Alberta and Ontario where we're getting communities coming together, talking and not running around in circles. They knew exactly what we were doing. And what they did was they created the convoy. Did the convoy create a lot of people coming together? Yes. Did a lot of great men and women come out there to support the convoy, to meet other people? Yes. Those were successful. But this time when they ran that convoy, there was a lot of people that were educated individuals that went on the convoy within 6 months in advance. Lots of great people went in there, like Scott Rayner's teams in Ontario. They went and talked to the people personally. They went and talked to everybody and explained to them what the real problems are we face. It got a lot of people organized. It got a lot of people connected. It got a lot of collecting emails and phone numbers and people, handshakes, showing respect to each other. That was our mission. Their mission was to go out there, cause a bunch of havoc, push the Emergency Act, freeze bank accounts, create fear, create hysteria, send the Green Goblins in, create all this harmful stuff to scare the people, right? It backfired on them because now the people are more intelligent. The people can see crisis actors. And this is very important. There's a pro to con to everything. They're not going to have any more convoys that are going to be being run for their purpose. The new convoys will be locally more structured, more organized, because more people are awake, right? Does that make sense?
But the new convoy would not be there if the original one that wasn't so great would not happen. So everything that does happen for a reason.
Yeah.
Jacqueline, I don't want to change the subject, but Jacqueline, before we had that meeting, you told me that we had how you call it? You gave me that that today was about letting go, the main subject.
Yes.
Okay, well, that I had a few hours to think about letting it go, you know, and it comes back to that. I was the bad guy that Thunder Bear was saying before, you know, I had almost everything, you know, so the only thing on my bucket list it was to own an helicopter that I didn't get, you know. So, but I was the guy that had all the tools, divorced 3 times, not for no reason, you know. So, and did a lot of crazy stuff, you know. Did a lot of good stuff too, but I have no regrets. But I was never happy, you know. So I learned to be happy when I started on my spiritual journey as a native. I like Thunder Bear. I never felt I fitted in. Okay, but I was not true to my identity because it was hidden in my family. It was hidden because of political reason. You know, some people in my mom's family had people in politics, and you could not say the word native. We still cannot say the word native to them. You know, so they, you know, so oh no, it's gonna bring trouble to us. You know, so I never fitted in, but I never knew why. You know, but it did push me to try so many things different. You know, until I got grounded to my native root, and since then I quit. I quit my construction company. I quit everything. You know, moved to New Brunswick and to start a community. You know, so. On the men's side, it usually happens when we're close to the 50s. You know, we there's a switch there that says, okay, what are we gonna do for the rest of our life? Are we gonna stay in that pattern, or we actually do what we really think we were put on that planet for? So my letting go, Mama Bear, was to I decided that the more I know stuff, the more I know that I don't know shit. You know, because that I let go of trying to think, hey, I know this, I know that. I know nothing, you know. But when I do seek for an answer, I look up. I do the ceremony, I meditate. I get my answer through spirituality. So the biggest internet for me, it's connecting to my ancestors above, or the guides, or whatever, you know, and the. I say we have to learn as humans to grow our little antennas, you know.
Mm.
So if more people would grow their antennas, so my letting it go is to actually made a deal with the creator. I said, I'm entrusting you with my life, but please guide me to what I need to do. So my letting go, I said I let go to material stuff. I let go of everything, but please guide me to do the job I was put here to do. And everybody pointed at me, okay, you're going to be the chief because the other guy died, you know. So, and I didn't want that job, but hey, you know, they put me there, so I'm doing that, you know. And we're going to build the communities and everything. So that's where I am. So to answer your question about my homework you asked me to do, Mama Bear, it was my letting it go. The subject of this week was letting it go on my personal side, you know. It's I entrust my life, my future, my spirituality to the creation, or the God, or the gods, or call him, or the extraterrestrial, whoever is upstairs. I let them guide me through whatever I do, through ceremony, meditation, or whatever. So I think that as human, if we would let go more, we might have a chance to be more on a path that is healthier or better for the future, you know. So that's my 1 cent for myself, you know. So, and I did do my homework. So,
Well,
I don't want you to be upset at me. Hey, you didn't answer my question.
no.
Mama, if you guys don't know, she's quite tough sometimes, you know.
So,
Tell me about it.
What
okay.
did you say, Greg?
He's
You know it?
Okay. Shh, don't tell everybody. I think we need to let go of this conversation for now, right? And I think there's so much that was shared. I'm going to just suggest, if you're all open, that we just do another little tune in to close it off, close off this broadcast. Okay. Yay. Yay. Okay. So we're just going to close our eyes. Greg's going to lead us here, and we'll just say sayonara.
Well, for starters, the energy is not mine, so it's not me leading. I just happen to be the lucky fool that has this. So let the energy be what it is, and let's let it fly. Okay.